church groups. You know why? One of the problems that we have in politics is that when you're running for office, you're supposed to be a politician. But once you're elected, you're supposed to make a transition to become a public servant. Regrettably, some folks don't do that. But one thing I am going to commit to is being a public servant, to be your public servant. And together we can make a really good city, even a better city. And there's a lot of people in this country right now that don't have faith in government. Let's make sure that Virginia Beach, that the population, 453,000 people, will feel proud of their government. Okay, and at this point, I'd like to take some questions from you. Yeah.
So, tourism keeps our taxes low, but every year they raise our taxes. Are we going to be able to not do that this year? Because I've seen in the stormwater presentation, they want to raise the fees again.
Well, let me put it this way. We have a tremendous responsibility and commitment. And you were on the campaign trail, as a lot of people were. We got to figure it out. And I've already started building some other bridges with the local delegation, including Terry Fowler, who has organized a group. We're going to have to look to leverage money from the state and the federal government. But right now, the federal government, correct me if I'm wrong, Lewis, is kind of dried up right now. So we're going to have to be innovative. To me, the way to offset that, we've got to stimulate the business environment. We got to stimulate the business community. And I'm confident with the new economic development director that we have, we're going to take a new path. We're going to be the city of yes, and we're going to be welcoming people. And I was on a panel the other day with all the mayors, from the south side. Every one of them is adverse to raising taxes at this point. And I can tell you that, the mayor of Norfolk, if you think we got some problems, they're confronting billions of dollars worth of debt right now in some of the projects that they have done. So they have some overwhelming stuff too. Government is going to be challenged, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you, I think our council, as we try to do this last cycle, we can't keep going to the trough. So I will be working in that direction. Dave.
Bob, you mentioned CIP and challenges. The school, we're building $100 million high schools, $80 million middle schools, that kind of thing. We've looked at it. We know we can do better and save some money. Still build very good schools that are good institutions and are conducive to learning. But would you look for ways to try to save some money there?
One of the things I like to do, Dane, is increase our articulation with the school board and our local delegation. So we can get, a lot of times we just meet in, formally, extremely informally and limited, on a limited basis throughout the year. We got to do a better job of sitting down and figure out, what the priorities are, what the real needs are. Like I said, school modernization is going to be a real challenge, and also teacher salaries. And don't forget, and Marlene, I'm sure you'll appreciate this, public safety and education are two of the biggest economic drivers we have about people wanting to come and live in Virginia Beach. One of the things I like to do, and this is just being a homie, we're always talking about everybody getting educated and moving up to Northern Virginia to work. What kind of quality of life do people have living in Northern Virginia? I came from the People's Republic of New Jersey. I don't like tolls or traffic more than anybody, but that quality of life we got there. Tell you what we got down here that we really should leverage better. We got excellent quality of life here. We got the good schools. We got good public safety. We got beaches. We got, things, the type of life, people can live. A lot of the military that come here retire and stay here because they like living here. So that's something I'd like to do, going forward too. But, I think we got to talk more, maybe do a joint retreat or something with them so, we're really aligned. Because under our system of government, we have a duly elected school board that makes a lot of those decisions. We have the budgetary oversight, but a lot of decisions there. We'll talk more, and I'd like to get better communication with our local Richmond delegation and also our federal guys. Marlene.
We see every year that, and I know that Ben Davenport tried to align you with Mr. Moss, but we know that every year with the budget process, there is a lot of fat that is left in there, unfunded or funded positions that are never filled. So that there is this slush fund, so when the special projects come up, we can do it. And then when it comes to education, when it comes to safety, we have to raise taxes because we've used all of this money. So, what is your position going forward, realizing that you need 5 other votes, but going forward in the budget process of not letting the city manager have free for all, basically, a free reign to have all of these little pockets of slush funds?
Okay, 2 points. First of all, yes, Mr. Moss and I have a very cordial relationship, and I'd like to think that I have a cordial relationship with all the council members. It's my duty to work with all the council members, but Mr. Moss brings a tremendous amount of value to the table with his budgetary expertise and everything, and that certainly has to be utilized. But Marlene, I think what we got to do is try to, if you go in as a leader or a manager and try to make too many changes too quick, sometimes, that's not the best thing. And that's just true in industry and organizations. Sometimes getting changes in government is like trying to turn an aircraft carrier around a stumpy leg. It's difficult, but it can be done. But I think if we have the citizen involvement and participation prior to the retreat, and then we give better direction, toward the budget process and look at the various ways and everything, I think that's a good first step, and that's something I'm going to hopefully lobby for. Yeah, Robert.
Mr. Dyer, we heaped this morning, heard you heap on accolades to Mr. Jones, but Mr. Jones was also part of the process of eliminating the public signing on the dotted line via referendum on issuing debt, according to the charter guidelines, which I would say probably 9 out of the 11 members of council do not even know what that policy was and what guided the city for decades. Would you support Mr. Moss's bringing back the resolution once again that all public debt beyond the threshold that's required in our city charter go to a referendum?
Let me put it this way, and you're not going to like my answer. I don't think that government by referendum is necessarily the best thing. I know you're going to be disappointed with that. But let me put it this way. I think we have to eventually do something that clarifies and improves that process. There will be better ways that we can do things going forward. I know you're disappointed with that answer, but I got to be honest with you. I have to work collaboratively with the group and come up with better ways and processes that will give the public more confidence with that.
We elected you by referendum, and that's for 2 years.
Okay, yeah.
What are your feelings about eliminating the e-poll tax in order to make business?
I will do everything possible. What I'm going to be doing is forming a business roundtable. I'm actually going to try to work with Dr. Cook. He outreached to me. He runs a city, but I know he's getting ready to retire, okay? But he runs the Center for Policy and Analysis at ODU. We're going to look at all the business processes, how we do things, how we issue debt and everything, and come up with a plan. And I got a window to do that, but once again, I want to improve the way that we do business practices in the city of Virginia Beach. And we've just got to do that. It'll be helpful to come up with a better mousetrap on how we do our business, how we do our budgeting, how we issue debt and everything. So that's what I hope to be doing. Yes?
Curious, do you have any thoughts on Councilwoman Finley's plan to use use new trees to mitigate flooding?
I'll tell you what, anything that we can do going forward, it's a workable thing. We gotta think out of the box, we gotta be innovative, we gotta find new ways, we gotta find new techniques. We gotta use best business practices, and, that's what I think we gotta do, things we gotta do going forward. Yes?
I'm going back to the referendum, and I know that even in our groups, if we spend so much money, we are to take that to our members. And I kind of feel that way with Virginia, with the city. The vote is the only power that the citizen has. When you strip them of being able to vote, you don't allow them to vote on large projects like the ITA and stuff like that. You're basically taking power out of their hands, and we are the taxpayers. And I know with the flooding, my kids, I have one child that moved to Northern Virginia, but that was because her husband was in the military and got a job. My kids have moved to Colorado, to North Carolina, different places, because basically everywhere there's a tree, it's been torn down. They're talking about putting them back in, I guess. And then they're wanting to move the agricultural line, build all that stuff. I think, number one, they should have referendums on large spending to give the power back to the people. And number two, this private-public type contracts are actually socialism. You cannot, it just leads to people that come in with a lot of money that are able to put bad projects in. And light rail would have went through if it wasn't for the referendum. The people spoke. So council was wrong on that. So I think large projects definitely should go to the taxpayer and their vote.
Well,
So I disagree with
once
Mark.
again, let me put it this way. One thing I will guarantee, that the public will be better brought to the table and have input on decisions going forward. We're going to find better ways. We're going to take a look at that we do government. And we're going to find a way. Once again, the whole word I'm going to use right now is balance. We have to find that balance. We have to grow, but we have to grow smartly and effectively. And we just got to make sure that, the people are involved. And you got my word on that. And we got to do a better job of explaining some of these projects, why we think it's necessary. But one of my duties is to make sure that all sides are heard. Because don't forget, even though people are advocates on one side, there's also advocates on the other side, that you have to have that balance. But what's been missing, I think, is explaining to people why we're doing certain things.
And I think council needs to remember that they needed 40,000 votes in order to keep light rail on. And council was wrong about what the people wanted.
And to be honest, but just a point of clarification, prior to that, we weren't sure if Mr. Atkinson was going to get the votes, and I was working with council. I think we had the votes to go forward for a referendum. If that didn't prevail. Okay, we were on, trust me, we've worked that.
Okay, I know Dr. Dyer has indicated that he has another commitment. I wanted to thank him, and since you have a good sense of humor, we have a special gift that I want you to share. This isn't, you have to show it, this isn't for the purpose of leading you into this,
It's not a goal. It's not a goal.
It's not a goal. It says 19 crimes.
It's a good bottle.
We know that,
There it is.
not our acting mayor, but the previous mayor had
I think Marlene just called me a whiner. Hey, thank you. But once again, I will always be honest with you, and we will work collaboratively. We will solve problems. You got my word. Thank you, and God bless you, because you always take your time to come here and listen. And I'll be back anytime you need. Okay?
Thank you.
Merry Christmas. You got it.
I want to know when we're going to get together on that project.
Okay, well, that's good. I'll tell you